Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. Well, Dr. Oz, who I've never done an episode on yet, recently did his own episode about this link between eating carbs and getting lung cancer. Does that sound crazy, even for people who don't even smoke? So this is going to be good. Anyway, before we get into that, let's just see what his views on carbs are in general.
Carbs have been linked to our national epidemics of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease.
OMG, really? Heart disease, diabetes caused by eating carbs? I mean, there's a whole body of science linking eating animal products to getting those very same diseases. Ever read the China study, bro? Anyway, speaking of studies...
In the largest study of its kind, research by the MD Anderson Cancer Center at the University of Texas reveals carbs that have a high glycemic index, so-called refined or white carbs, raise the risk for lung cancer by a staggering 49%.
So really, my high-carb lifestyle is going to give me lung cancer? It's funny how I've never met anyone who eats tons of fruits and veggies, a vegan say, who has cancer, let alone lung cancer. Anyway, why take my word for it? Let's get right back to Dr. Oz here and listen to what his cancer specialist has to say.
If you have too much carbohydrates, you can trigger a process where the body will make growth-stimulating hormones, including insulin, and that can trigger the growth of some cancer cells. Yeah. So therefore, if you eat in a way that tends to raise your insulin levels too much, you create an environment in your body that cancer loves.
So they're saying it's these elevated levels of insulin, not eating carbs themselves, which create this cancer-loving situation in the human body. Well, what are these horrible foods, these dangerous foods that cause these high, dangerous insulin levels? Well, let's take a look at his other guest here, paleo low-carb enthusiast Dr. Hyman, who's actually the doctor that got Bill Clinton to quit his vegan diet.
So Mark, what are high glycemic index foods?
So remember, high glycemic index foods are foods that raise your blood sugar and then spike insulin. It's all the stuff we know. It's the starchy, sugary stuff. So it's rice and potatoes.
So rice and potatoes spike our insulin and cause cancer? Well, again, the China study debunks this sort of reasoning. Those who live in rural China, who eat virtually no meat because they can't afford it, and they're eating tons of rice and a lot of plants, well, the types of cancers that plague us here in the West are virtually unknown to these people. Well, anyway, they've kind of got me thinking here, Dr. Hyman and all, is it safe to eat rice and potatoes? Maybe fruit's okay.
Fruit's good for you, right? You all think anyway. I do too. But not all fruits are created equal. Here's an example. I give you a scale here. So bananas, which I happen to enjoy, grapes, dates, these have high glycemic index. Why? Because the sugar from these fruits pours into your bloodstream, nothing's slowing it down. But over here, we've got citrus. You all heard of the grapefruit diet, right? Strawberries, kiwis. These actually let the body have sugar, but very slowly because they're full of fiber.
Oh man, so he's saying bananas are dangerous because they lack fiber and all its sugars pour into our bloodstream, causing insulin spikes. Well, I don't know how to say this kindly, but Dr. Oz is just completely full of crap here. I mean, let's take a look at Chronometer here. I compared 100 calories of bananas to 100 calories of his beloved grapefruit. And look at the fiber amounts here. Not much difference. 3 grams for bananas, 4 grams for grapefruit. So bananas are far from being devoid of fiber. Sugars just don't rush into our bloodstream without any fiber obstructing it. In fact, anyone who's ever had a large banana smoothie knows all too well about a half an hour later on that bananas contain plenty of fiber. So really, this fear of carbs that these doctors all seem to have is a fear of eating rice and potatoes and bananas and other high-carb, whole food plants for fear of them spiking our insulin and causing cancer. Well, anytime I see studies like this or big stories on the news that try to make us fearful of whole food plants, I'm really suspicious, and you should be too. Well, who's a better person to turn to than Dr. Greger to set us straight with the truth? Let's see what he has to say that these other doctors failed to mention.
In 1997, an insulin index of foods was published, ranking 38 foods on which stimulates insulin levels the most. What do you think causes a larger insulin spike? A large apple and all its sugar, a cup of oatmeal packed with carbs, a cup and a half of white flour pasta, a big bunless burger, no carbs at all, or half a salmon fillet. What do you think? The answer is the meat. Now, they only looked at beef and fish, but subsequent data showed that there's no significant difference between the insulin spike from beef versus chicken or pork. They're all just as high.
So Dr. Oz and Hyman got us all worried here, going off on the horrors of these insulin spikes from rice, potatoes, and bananas, yet they conveniently failed to mention a well-known fact here, as Dr. Greger showed us, that eating meat causes insulin spikes higher than many high-carb plant foods do. Convenient for those doctors, huh? Well, according to those doctors, Hyman and Oz, you'd think that vegetarians would have much higher insulin levels since they're eating carbs all day, right?
Vegetarians have significantly lower insulin levels, even at the same weight.
By their own reasoning, since carbs are so bad and spike our insulin, you would think a high-carb diet would probably be the worst thing in the world for insulin, right?
What if you take people and add carbohydrates, double their carbohydrate intake? You can bring their insulin levels down. Why? Because they weren't feeding people jelly beans and sugar cookies. They were feeding people whole plant foods, lots of whole grains, beans, fruits, and vegetables.
It's funny how in the mainstream media, whenever there's stories about insulin and diabetes and glycemic index stuff, they're always talking about, yeah, you gotta watch them carbs, don't eat that pasta, don't eat that fruit. Yet they fail to mention that those on a high-carb diet have the lowest levels of insulin, healthy levels of insulin. So once again, yet again, a whole food, plant-based diet is the best for health, in this case, having healthy insulin levels. So, should you be concerned about getting lung cancer from bananas and potatoes and rice? Well, the authors of this study noted a few limitations to it. This was a retrospective study, subject to errors and recall of past dietary intake, and the study did not account for diabetes, hypertension, or heart disease in their subjects. Meaning the subjects just tried their best to recall what they ate last week, last year. You know, that's really tough to do, so there's a lot of imprecision there. But what's worse, these subjects could have already been suffering from diabetes and heart disease from their bad meat diets that they were already eating. Remember, this study was conducted in Texas. I'm not here to bag on Texas, but it doesn't fare that well as far as being a healthy state. It's the 11th most obese state in the United States. 11% of its adults have diabetes, all right? 31% hypertension. So like my good buddy Dr. Stork, who I talk about quite often on this channel, Dr. Oz and Dr. Hyman, for that matter, seem to be no different. Very selective in the knowledge that they either have or that they present to you. In this case, like Dr. Stork, scared to eat more than 2 or 3 bananas. Same with these guys here. So let me know down below what you think. Do you think bananas cause lung cancer? So let me know what you think down below of Dr. Oz, for that matter, since we've never really talked about him here. Is he any better or worse than Dr. Stork? Got something out of this video? Hit like, share it with a friend who's afraid to eat carbs, thinking bad things are going to happen like obesity, diabetes, and now lung cancer. And subscribe if you're new to this channel for more from me and Angie here at Happy Healthy Vegan. So until next time, guys, screw these guys. Keep it carb, baby. Keep it carb.
Dr. Pollack, most folks watching right now probably have had times in their lives when they've had too many carbohydrates. Is it too late?
No, it's not too late.
Oh my God, thank you. It's not too late. I eat too many carbs. I need help.